Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be doing a fragrance battle for best beeswax fragrance. I'm going to be doing a comparison between Slowdive and Bee. So stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Beeswax is an interesting note because I find that it's not overly sweet and it doesn't give a strong feeling of honey. Even though, of course, honey comes from a beehive, as does beeswax, it does definitely have a different feel to it, and it is nice in a composition when it's done well. So, two fragrances I'm going to be talking about today and comparing: Bee and Slowdive. I will actually say on first impression, on first sniff, I actually thought these were almost identical. The beeswax in both of these on the opening, on the first whiff especially, right on spray, very strong, very in your face. But I will say that's actually as far as the similarities go. The beeswax in Bee stays a lot more prominent in the opening, and what happens also is there's a sharpness from the ginger, and this one does start to become a little bit thicker. Slowdive, on the other hand, has things like orange blossom and neroli, which actually freshen the composition quite a bit. So to me, this one is actually quite fresh. It has a nice floral accord that's quite prominent right in the opening. As these fragrances progress, what ends up happening is they both transition even further apart. I find that this one, Bee, has a little bit more of a honey kind of sweetness with a very strong beeswax note. The beeswax makes it a very waxy composition and gives it almost a bit of a dryness, but not, a really dry fragrance, whereas Slowdive starts to transition into a much sweeter, I want to almost call this one a gourmand, so I will call it a semi-gourmand, because it's not that it really smells like food, but it does smell food-like. And that's primarily by the dried fruits that become a lot more prominent in this fragrance. And in fact, the honey, the beeswax, starts to give the impression of honey-covered fruits, which is actually really gorgeous. I really do like this one a lot. But it definitely has more of a gourmand touch, where a lot of people talk about this one as a gourmand, but to me, I don't get that at all. What I get from it is a nice ginger and beeswax in the opening, very prominent beeswax, and the beeswax is the center of this fragrance for the entire life of the fragrance. As it progresses, I get a little bit of light florals, which really paints the habitat of the bee very well, which is something that is consistent with the Zoology brand across all the different fragrances. And so this one is more of a beeswax floral, whereas this one becomes more of a sweet honey dried fruit kind of a fragrance. Both of them are fantastic, but again, they are actually quite different. So performance-wise, they both perform very well. They're both quite strong, and in fact, both of them last quite a long time. I definitely get over the 8-hour mark with both of these fragrances, although I will give the edge to Bee. It is longer lasting by a few hours. This one is absolutely crazy on my skin. 10 to 12-hour mark. It's very long lasting. And Bee is absolutely beast mode. So really, I would only go 1 or 2 sprays with this one ever, because it's extremely potent. It's very sharp in the opening. It's very in your face in the opening. Very strong sillage for hours with this one, so it is an absolute beast performer. Slowdive is no slouch, however. It does last a long time, and the projection is there for the first 2-3 hours. It's not as in your face as Bee when it first opens. I think part of that is the freshness that you get from the orange blossom and the neroli, but it is definitely dialed back a little bit, so it's definitely not as strong. As far as wearability, definitely fall winter for this one, because it is quite sweet. Might be able to pull it off in the spring as well, as long as it's not too hot out, but it does get quite sweet, so I would find that in the summer it would get way too cloying. Bee, on the other hand, doesn't actually have that much sweetness. It does have a little bit of sweetness, and from time and again it does become a little bit more of a honey syrupy sweetness, but again it fades in and out of that and is definitely dominated by the beeswax, which is a less sweet, kind of a honey vibe. This one also great for fall, strong enough for winter. You could definitely pull it off in the spring, if you went light on the trigger, this one might be okay in the summer as well. It's just that it's so overpoweringly strong that I think it would be too thick for the summer. Now, as far as occasions, I think both these line up fairly well. I could see wearing a suit with either one of these because they're both well-composed, classy fragrances, high-quality ingredients. You could smell the quality with these fragrances, and both of them are different and will definitely make a statement. But these are also something I could wear fairly casually. This one I would find easier to wear casually because I find it leans more gourmand, and so I could easily pull this off for me pretty much in any occasion. This one definitely has, to me, a little bit more of an air of formality to it because it is very, very well put together, and it does have this certain attitude to it that gives it this really high quality, more formal composition. So altogether, I think this one is slightly more versatile, although this one can be certainly worn in a lot of different occasions and at a lot of different times of the year. So this one beats it on the versatility by just a little bit. Now, as far as my personal opinion on the overall smell, I'm going to have to actually give it Slowdive. It does have that more gourmand lean, and I love gourmand fragrances. With the sweetness and the dried fruits, I do find it to be more versatile and wearable. But Bee, of course, is an excellent fragrance, and I will say that if you really, really want the beeswax note, that's what you want to experience the most, Bee is definitely the fragrance of choice there, because it is definitely the main star of this fragrance throughout the entire duration of the fragrance, and it's definitely centered around that beeswax. The beeswax is very prominent in this one, especially in the opening, but as this one dries down, the sweetness and the dried fruits definitely start to take more of a center stage to my nose, and ultimately the beeswax does tone down quite a bit. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to stay safe out there. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what your favorite beeswax fragrance is. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.